Hi, everyone. I am John Whyte. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at WebMD, and I'm live from the Medscape handle with my colleagues at Medscape, which is all part of WebMD, and Medscape are part of Internet Brands. And I recently joined Instagram myself a couple of weeks ago at Dr. John Whyte. So thank you all for joining. Hopefully some of you recognize this bookshelf behind me. I've been hosting a show called Coronavirus in Context. It's at the WebMD website. There's usually a thumbnail. We promote it on social media, and Medscape promotes it as well. And I've been interviewing over 100 experts since March about how do we put all this information about coronavirus in context to our patients, to our colleagues. How do we make sense of it? I want to thank you all for joining. I see a bunch of people joining. And when we think about coronavirus in context, and you say, you've interviewed 100 people, John, what have you learned? And, I have to say, I've interviewed top government officials, the Surgeon General, the CDC. I'm going to get Dr. Fauci at some point, hopefully this week. Top, experts in terms of folks at the ADA, American Society of Clinical Oncology. I encourage you to take a look at all of these shows at WebMD and Medscape. But, some of the best lessons I've learned are from folks that aren't the traditional scientists and clinicians that we think of. People like Arianna Huffington, who really was one of the first persons to talk about resilience and the mental health epidemic that's approaching. And she talked about, each time we wash our hands, and we're washing our hands lots of times during the day, we need to think of something that we're grateful for. And it's a stressful time. Deepak Chopra talked about using the word stop and using all of those words to think about our breathing, to think about, how we're interacting with people. And then, even Tim Tebow, who talked about the power of purpose. So I encourage you to check out the show called Coronavirus in Context. It's on WebMD and Medscape. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at WebMD, John Whyte, and I'm also on Instagram at Dr. John Whyte, Whyte. So follow me there as well. I'm going to be doing this every Monday and talking about, some recent shows. And I'm really interested in hearing people's thoughts. And I still see patients. So, when do we talk to them about an antibody test? Think about all the different information that we've had over the past 3 months and how what we know today is different than what we learned 3 months ago. Is there any role for antibody testing? I'm not so sure right now as it relates to how we're going to change individual decisions. We're going to be talking this week, and I encourage you to tune in to the show on the website and through social about what do all these different curves mean. So all this, cases are going up, deaths are not going up at the same rate of increase, but they are. How do we put this all into context? What's the impact if it's on younger folks? I see a couple people asking me questions. No, my hair is not dyed, but thank you. Thank you for that question. So the website is webmd.com. Medscape also promotes many of the shows on social media, and you can just search Coronavirus in Context, WebMD, and it'll come up there. One of the questions that someone just asked me is about vaccination, and we've been talking a lot about vaccination on the show, and I encourage you to watch several of those episodes. And I worked at the FDA, and we had a great quote by Dr. Schaffner at Vanderbilt, who said, it takes 10 to 20 years typically to get vaccines. That's been our experience. And those have been the easy ones. So even though we had a head start, how do we think about that? And those are some of the things that, we need to consider. And like many of the comments that folks are giving, including some folks from Washington, yes, many of these books I have read. Thank you for asking that. Someone also asked about, WebMD and Medscape in terms of, there's a lot of misinformation out there. But here's what I can tell you that we do on our sites. Every piece of content, every piece is reviewed by a board-certified physician. So we take very seriously giving you the best content that's out there. So again, I'm Dr. John Whyte. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at WebMD. I'm the host of a show called Coronavirus in Context. I'm working with my Medscape colleagues, and I want to hear from you. So, we're going to think about a way that I can get your questions as well as ideas about who to interview. I've interviewed over 100 people. We're starting on the next 100. I encourage you to check it out. I'm looking at some of your questions here. You can follow me at Dr. John Whyte as well. Yes, Medscape is MEDSCAPE. So check out the show, Coronavirus in Context. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing your questions. And thanks, Ainusum, for that compliment about the content that we provide on our site. And I want to hear from all of you because we want to provide the best information for our colleagues, for our patients, and there's still uncertainty and information changes, and that's okay. And we have to recognize that and adapt as we get more information. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to listen to me today. I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you. Again, the show is called Coronavirus in Context. I'm Dr. John Whyte, the Chief Medical Officer at WebMD, and thanks for tuning in.